a jet black, abyssal graveyard of deleted data full of evil energies, the equivalent of what would be considered as hell in the Abrahamic religions. A treacherous place filled with values that are not deemed as being just and pure. There is lots that can be said about this dark area, in fact, so much that it wouldn't be fair to do it in this explaining video, but what can be said is that this place of vices is either inhabited by evil, mischievous creatures, or gave birth to some of the most foul one out there. The undead Digimon Dracmon is but one of them, and the main subject for this video. Don't let the looks deceive you, as there is more to this Digimon than meets the eye. While being an undead Digimon, it is one with vampire origins, hence the name Dracmon, with Drac being a reference to Count Dracula, the archetypal vampire with powers to turn others into vampires by biting them and infecting them with the vampiric disease. Dracmon is a reincarnation of that same vampire, but in a miniature version, in fact, a child version, as it is not aware of its vampire heritage. I say so because it once was a blood-sucking Digimon, except that it forgets to suck the blood out of its prey. A child is still a child, unless we're talking about exceptions like GRANDRACMON, who we discussed previously, a Digimon showing a calm and composed nature despite being so young. You see, as the dark area is this place where evil Digimon are imprisoned within the eternal darkness, you cannot be surprised that those living inside it will adapt and take on a nature that is more common among the inhabitants. That is, sometimes, the only option you have if you wish to live a little longer, especially in an area that harbors Digimon like Golfmon, a creature that kills by simple use of its voice. Growing up in such an environment, Dracmon grew up a mischievous Digimon, dedicating its life to taking risks and provoking those who, in terms of power, would be significantly more impressive. The notion of fear and worry for your own life and safety do not really apply to the undead Digimon who, for the sake of pranks, loves to meet a challenge unflinchingly, even if it may bring about its own demise. In fact, it nearly got itself killed trying to graffiti the faces of all 4 of the Digimon sovereigns, 4 powerful guardian spirits who rule over the cardinal points of the compass. Digimon who are difficult to overthrow with the power of ordinary Mega Digimon, as their power is set as the highest authority among other Digimon, with strength that is said to be the epitome of gods. Truth is that it is unknown whether Dracmon actually succeeded in its prank, but still prompts, and at the same time, madness to he who dare and provoke godlike beings. It also seems that Dracmon is trying to play some kind of tricks to the Royal Knights, Digimon guardian deities who occupy the highest rank of the network security, making it nigh impossible to violate security in their presence. Still, a Dracmon with no fear, it still tries to prank those who clearly display powers far above what it has. We can easily explain why Dracmon seems to lack a moral compass by looking at its genetics. It belongs to the Nightmare Soldiers family, with members of this field generally being demonic or undead Digimon, or those dwelling in haunted areas. It also belongs to the Dark Area family. Members of this family are generally evil or apocalyptic Digimon, or those who dwell in the Dark Area. So everything about Dracmon, from its appearance to its vampire heritage to its genetics, is evil. With those characteristics, it easily spreads its evil almost like a virus that does not cease to infect more and more people while it's spreading around. And with techniques like the Eye of Nightmare, where it casts a spell from the evil eyes on the palms of its hands, it can cause those who look into it to have their hearts completely dominated by the Digimon itself. This is not an attack to be taken lightly for 2 reasons. First, the evil eyes are a reference to the supernatural belief in curse brought about by a malevolent glare, usually given to a person when one is unaware. The evil eye is a common belief that individuals have the power to cause harm to people, animals, or objects just by looking at them in a way that indicates jealousy and envy. In some faith, the evil eye is considered worse than a bad friend, a bad neighbor, or an evil heart. That is one of Dracmon's specialty, to spread around evil wishes. Another reason why this technique is also dangerous is because of Digimon of the likes of Digimon. Sure, it may look small and relatively inoffensive, but its greatest evil deed was its responsibility for successfully tempting an Angemon to be lured from the Digimon heavens to the dark area. And you know what Digimon and Dracmon have in common? They both share the same genetic traits, being part of the Nightmare Soldiers family and the Dark Area family. Digimon is but a child and yet could influence the destiny of an angel Digimon. Don't you believe that Dracmon can display a similar talent, considering how spiritual the Digimon is? It certainly has that potential, doesn't it? When Dracmon digivolves in its champion form, sans Lumon, that is a form that puts more the emphasis on Dracmon's heritage as a blood-sucking vampire. Sans Lumon's name is a combination of the French words blood and wolf, correctly emphasizing the demon beast residing inside the creature. Although a blood-sucking creature, it is still one of relative noble nature, as you'd need more than just primitive survival instincts to live as long as this Digimon did. So Lumon is considerably old and is said to have survived since the genesis of the digital world, the birth of the digital world, without forgetting that time can run differently in that universe, depending on the different Digimon media, meaning that Sans Lumon could indeed be very old. It survived this long as it grew in wisdom and intelligence every time it sucked blood out of its victims, extracting information out of their digicores, the center of Digimon's body, a powerful energy source housing a Digimon's primary data, and can be considered analogous to its soul. Sans Lumon is also an expert at data manipulation. It can disassemble its own data, melting it into the opponent's shadow. It can move to different places as it rushes about the net by breaking down its data into packets at its own volition. It is very difficult to capture this Digimon, which is all the better as it would enhance all its chances at surviving. And the truth is, as you will see later on, its combination of being hard to catch along with its abilities to absorb data will ultimately become its biggest asset later on in its future forms. The ultimate level of Sans Lumon is the undead Digimon Matador Mon. At first glance, it might seem a bit weird that we suddenly have a Matador Digimon that is the evolved form of a demon beast, but it actually does make sense for multiple reasons. The most simplest reason would be that Digimon is Digimon. You cannot always predict how the next form will look like. We already have cases where cats would evolve into angels, so we don't really have a solid excuse to explain our shock, if there is any, when it comes to Matador Mon. Another reason to explain it would be to simply remember Sans Lumon's ability to absorb data. No doubt the data absorption had an influence in how it would end up evolving, because ultimately we're still talking about that same blood-sucking Digimon that did not lose that same thirst for blood. It can't survive unless it sucks a Digimon's blood, but not just anyone will do. No, Matador Mon seeks only the blood of strong Digimon, and as strong Digimon have usually lived longer and thus became much smarter, can you imagine how intelligent Matador Mon would become after absorbing all that data? You see, it took on the appearance of a matador because of the folk dance database of a certain museum. No doubt coming from its numerous travels, as Matador Mon seems to constantly move from place to place and probably absorbs data which likely influenced how it would end up evolving. The big difference between this form and its previous ones is that it now became a martial artist that can perform a magnificent dance, fluttering garment to deceive opponents. Using various tactics, it mostly tries to make the opponent drop its guard to then fall upon them with the countless rapiers stuck on its arms. The dancing, however, is not the only thing Digimon should be aware of in an encounter with Matador Mon. Do you see the symbol on both sides of its pants? It is that same mark of an evil eye whose influence it kindly spread back when it was a Dracmon. Matador Mon is still one wishing bad luck to all those it would set its eyes on. However, that same bad luck would only become more scarier and dangerous once it evolves into GRANDRACMON, the king of vampire Digimon.
Oh, under my umbrella. That I do have that potential to tell someone.
And you said, yeah, I'm gonna grab him. Your ID photo, is it still the same?
It's still the same.
Is that really?
That's
Yeah, you said, oh yeah, we're going strong or something.
GRANDRACMON, the Vampire King, also known as the ruler of the night, is a Digimon that is extremely powerful, resourceful, and intelligent. It boasts of such power that even the 7 great demon lords cannot interfere with it. It actually stands outside of their authorities despite the fact that all 7 of them are extremely powerful themselves. They are the 7 demon lords, representatives of the 7 deadly sins, the chief nobility of the dark area, and each member has the right to command legions of nightmare soldiers, and yet, despite their sphere of influence, they know better than to challenge GRANDRACMON. Why would that be? How come that GRANDRACMON is able to exert such authority on a team of Digimon who clearly have the advantage in terms of quantity in resource and members? Well, let us just say that knowledge is power, and that alone puts the ruler of the night on a different pedestal. You see, depending on the media depiction, GRANDRACMON is either one who is connected to the details of how the dark area came to be within the digital world, or, as shown in Digimon Chronicle X, it is the one who created the dark area with plans to go to the old digital world, defeat Digimon, and force them to undergo Death X evolution, and then send them to the dark area. Death X evolution is not to be taken lightly. You see, there is a distinction to be made between X evolution and Death X evolution. X evolution is a unique digivolution that occurs when a Digimon merges the X antibody into its Digicore, an antibody enabling a Digimon to survive the X program launched by Yggdrasil to decimate a large portion of Digimon due to overpopulation reasons. Those with an X antibody are immune to the program. They survived and digivolved into the X variant. They changed in appearance and became more powerful. Death X evolution is a form of X evolution activated when a Digimon dies. It is an experimental form of digivolution. The changes brought upon Digimon are to be debated, but what can be said from those of the likes of Death X Dracula is that it actively keeps preying on the Digicores of other Digimon despite its deceased condition. The hunt for Digicores ultimately make it digivolve into an abomination called Dexmon or Death Xmon, a creature that is not even classified as a Digimon, a creature that, unless there are no Digicores nearby, it will go into stasis, but when there are Digicores it will not cease. It is conjectured that defeating it is within the realm of impossibility. Now, because the dark area is built on a separate layer to the digital world, the X program was unable to affect it, meaning that all Digimon that would undergo the Death X evolution, GRANDRACMON would try and lure them down there in the darkness, giving it enormous leverage to destabilize the rest of the digital world. You see, there is a sense of irony here. GRANDRACMON is a creature from the dark area who knows the secrets of Death X evolution, and yet the Digimon itself is a natural carrier of the X antibody. This means that it would have survived the X program anyway. It wouldn't have been affected, which shows that this Digimon truly is steps ahead in this game of power and control. As GRANDRACMON is an ancient Digimon that lived through ages, it has kept a castle in the dark area since ancient time. A castle that is difficult to get through, but still a castle hiding lots of secrets of interests, even for powerful Digimon like Jesmon, one who acquired the title of Royal Knight, which is the highest rank of the network security. and Digimon re-arise when the Royal Knights heard the rumors that GRANDRACMON left its castle. They sent Jesmon to travel through the dark area and into the castle. Unfortunately, it was a trap. Upon arrival, Jesmon was ambushed by many demonic Digimon, showing the cunningness of GRANDRACMON, who can see a few steps before its enemies. The Digimon is not just a ruler in name, but also one in character. You will always find it to be very composed with a gentle manly demeanor, and because of the charm effect within the voice it exudes, it has tales that can lead any angel Digimon who comes to subdue it into falling down, meaning that these angels get stripped away from their angelic heritage to become a fallen angel Digimon like those of the likes of Skull Satamon, one who pursued strength and destruction and hence fell from grace and has now an appearance which is but a ruin of what it once was. GRANDRACMON is an undead Digimon that is close to being immortal. It can unleash the wails of the underworld, killing all those who would hear it. It can use its evil eye, also known as Gorgon Eye, to imprison within darkness the hearts of the opponents that gaze at it, and Gorgon Eye is a reference to 3 sisters in ancient Greek mythology who made their hairs out of living venomous snakes. Sisters who had horrifying visages that turned those who beheld them to stone. And GRANDRACMON can also instantly transform all of the opponents into ice crystals. So it certainly has lots of tools to make sure that it gets the upper hand in every encounter. In the Explaining New Demon Lords video, Edwin Pritom and Mark Torres wrote the following about GRANDRACMON. I feel like the 7 Demon Lords concept is basically the 7 challenges before the final boss, Satan. Heck, lots of lore states that GRANDRACMON is literally the Satan of the digital world with incredible knowledge and power. GRANDRACMON has shown to be strong enough and powerful to not only disregard and challenge the 7 great Demon Lords, but also powerful enough to withstand most, if not all, possible challengers. I think it would see itself above the Demon Lords and would not lower itself to obtain those titles. Maybe, unless it is beneficial somehow. In the dark area, GRANDRACMON has its place as one of the behemoth. It is a self-sufficient Digimon that does not need to rely on allies. From being powerful offensively to knowing lots of secrets, the Vampire King is on a whole different level and shows such potential that I cannot wait to see it as a character in a very apocalyptic and dark Digimon storyline that will hopefully come in the near future. Hey guys, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. GRANDRACMON, as a Digimon living in the dark area, it might possibly be one of my favorite dark area Digimon along with Golfmon. I think both have lots of potential. There is so much that can be done with them. It is a Digimon that is there on its own, and the 7 Demon Lords as a group prefer not to bother it. I don't know if you guys really realize how badass that is, but to me truly that's like one of the most badass Digimon out there. The 7 Demon Lords are sometimes seen as the main villains, and yet the main villains know their place when they see GRANDRACMON, that is authority. And to be honest, GRANDRACMON in that sense is close to being an inspiration to me because it commands respect in ways no other Digimon have ever been able to, ever. So hands down. I can't wait to see another appearance of GRANDRACMON, but like this time, one where we can truly feel and see and read and hear how much authority it truly has, how much of a threat it truly is. Now obviously guys, if you have anything to say about this Digimon, please do so. Write everything down in the comment section, your opinions, your ideas, possible storylines for it, how you see its role in the Digimon universe. Just go ahead, I'm really curious to read your opinions, and make sure to write big comments because you never know, the Digimon developers might get their inspirations from you guys. Oh, and if you guys are new, please make sure to subscribe to this channel for more Digimon content. We go really deep in Digimon lore, so just subscribe, alright? And you'll get some extra content too, like for example me eating chicken with my guest. In case you haven't seen the episode, make sure to do so. The link of it is in the description. My guest would like to know how warm this community can be, so please show her some warmth. Alright, all Digimon episodes are in particular playlists, make sure to take a look at them, that way you can catch up on newer and older videos.